Watch this.
The dream of buying a house is slipping away for Americans, where the average age of a first-time homeowner is getting closer to 40. A new housing law might not fix the crisis, but an expert says it's a step in the right direction. And despite a nationwide housing crisis, Idaho's developments are growing out, even up against land that's meant for marksmen. Now a balancing act for a city that wants to keep those homes safe, but protect recreational shooting. There's a creature you wouldn't expect in fresh water, and it's made its presence known to a family this weekend. So we talked to them, and we took a look back at other similar visits from jellyfish in local ponds. The wildly popular 21st Century Road to Housing Act is now law in the United States. Every member of Idaho's delegation voted for it. Its goal is to make it easier to buy and build homes so that more people can achieve the dream of home ownership. But will it actually work? Justin Core talked to an expert. Justin, will this help fix the housing crisis?
Well, Hunter, it will help fix the housing crisis. That word help, doing a lot of work there. So not going to fix it on its own. First, I understand everyone's pessimism when it comes to Congress working together to fix an issue affecting nearly every American's life, even though that's sort of their whole purpose. However, this new law legitimately does some good things. It improves access to housing loans and grants, improves investment in a home building program, unlocks billions of dollars of investment in the low-income housing tax credit, and increases the cap for rental assistance. Also deregulates to try to cut down on construction and zoning delays. But Chuck Crocht with the Idaho Housing and Finance Association says that is not enough to fix the housing crisis, at least not all on its own.
It is a positive step in the right direction. It tackles several of the barriers to home ownership at once. But as you know, Justin, there's no single solution to today's housing challenges. There's no silver bullet. We've talked about this in the past. But, any policy that increases housing opportunities, especially that supports first-time homebuyers, can make a big, meaningful difference. The one thing that I think, or one of the things within the act that does bring some focus to reducing some regulatory burdens to new construction, which in turn should open up new housing opportunities across the state, especially in the rural communities where we haven't seen a lot of new construction. It's been lagging for several years.
But I know some of you are already crafting texts, something like, what you need to do is keep corporations like BlackRock from buying up all the homes, keeping families from buying them. Send. Well, this law does actually cap the number of single-family homes that large institutional investors like BlackRock can buy. Chuck says that will also help, but it's also not a big problem in Idaho.
I would say it's more of a national issue. So from the data that I've seen, institutional investors, and this would mean large corporations like BlackRock, not your guy that might own, an investment property or two or three. These institutional investors haven't had a large footprint in Idaho like they have in some other states. It's around 20% from the data that I'm seeing. So I don't expect that provision of the act alone will dramatically change the market. The bigger challenge here is simply that we need more homes to meet the current demand situation.
So are more homes being built to keep up with that demand? No. Hunter?
Okay, so will this new law get more homes built?
So it clears the way for it, right? It cuts some red tape to allow for more homes to be built, but whether or not they're built is really still up to the builders. And we'll talk about maybe some of their motivations and why they're not building as many homes as they have in the past tomorrow, right here on the 208.
Love a good tease. I do have one more follow-up question.
Sure.
When he is talking about, investors maybe not doing that as much in Idaho, is it because our housing prices are so much higher compared to other parts like the Midwest, maybe where they're lower?
Not necessarily. And 20%, a lot of people may see that and be like, oh, geez, that's still a pretty high number. There's money to be made here, but you're right. There probably is more money to be made, maybe in a San Francisco, New York City market, something like that. But again, 20%, like, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Justin, thank you. All right, now to the 4 and 1 on the 208. Gas prices are back on the rise. There was some relief from seeing $4 for several gas stations in Idaho, but it is back up. The tensions in the Middle East rose once again, making those prices shoot back up overnight. In Boise, prices jumped 15 cents to an average of $4.15 for a gallon of regular. That price also matches the state average.
There is nothing humane about shooting somebody. I mean, have we lost our mind?
A group against the death penalty wants Idaho's governor to scrap the firing squad as a main method of state-sponsored execution. The Execution Intervention Project hosted its online press conference today. The group also unveiled a new billboard in Boise that reads, "Don't shoot Tom Creech," a reference to the longest-serving death row inmate whose execution by lethal injection was called off when medical staff couldn't find a vein. And Idahoans are getting back more than $600,000 from 2 companies accused of failing to protect consumers' data. Idaho's Attorney General says the money is coming from settlements with Cash App's parent company, Block, after it failed to protect people from fraud. The other settlement is from a data breach with 23andMe that exposed nearly 39,000 Idahoans' genetic information. And that's the 4 and 1 on the 208. The city of Eagle is taking a closer look at where people can legally shoot guns inside of the city limits. I know what you're thinking, shooting in city limits, normally that is not allowed, but let's go back. The city of Eagle says several years ago it adopted an ordinance that allows shooting on the Bureau of Land Management property, just north of Beacon Light Road, or on any private land more than 20 acres in size. But throughout the years, developments have hit Eagle, bringing homes closer and closer to this area where shooting is allowed. Cooper Morgan explains why the City Council is tackling Ordinance 942.
The sprawl of subdivisions and the rolling foothills. The City of Eagle is on the edge of it all.
And it feels like development is kind of pinching that area off.
City Council member Robert Gillis first heard it from the people living there.
Basically, we were advised that a unoccupied residence and a truck, a construction truck at Valnova, had been hit by errant rounds.
We are getting more calls for service from the Valnova area about shooting that is impacting them.
New homes in North Eagle now sit just below popular off-road and shooting areas near Hartley and Beacon Light, on land that used to feel like open range.
I have friends that go in there. I have Ada County Sheriff friends that go in there to shoot with their kids. Majority are responsible gun owners. It's that small portion that dictate it for everybody. When a house and a car get hit.
Current code in Eagle allows shooting on 20 acres or more inside city limits or on BLM land where shooting is already a protected activity.
You know, technically BLM would be federal law, but because it's part of our city, it's now in our purview.
The city is now re-examining that old ordinance, as shooters standing on BLM land within city limits can see houses in the backdrop.
There's not a person in their right mind that's a responsible gun owner shooter that would shoot in that field.
The proposed ordinance 942 would scrap that 20-acre threshold and create a map of a permissible shooting area. Some council members say the city should be careful about how far it goes.
I'm always hesitant of sweeping changes without any sort of alternative or carving out or something like that.
It's already enforceable. I mean, if somebody's up there shooting and they're being irresponsible, there's things and mechanisms in place.
Gillis says the ordinance is about growth and safety, not taking gun rights away.
You know, you shoot at a target, you miss a target. How many times has that happened in real life? We're liable for it. Every round that comes out of that gun, we're liable.
No changes are final yet. Eagles Council takes this up again July 21st today, and they say they want to hear from both shooters and neighbors before drawing that new line. Hunter, that was a big thing that the councilman mentioned to me, was just this collaborative process with the community on something like this, especially regarding the Second Amendment, something that a lot of Idahoans hold dear.
So this is something, that they're bringing up tonight. We're going to hear from more people who, I don't know, kind of have a reaction to it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, like a reaction to just how it is in in that area, because it is kind of something where they plop that development down, right in an area where a lot of people were just used to going out there and seeing nothing around them, right? And so they're looking for that input really tonight.
Yeah, small town eagle, not so small anymore. All right, Cooper, thank you. Hot temps bring everyone to the local watering holes, but it's not just people going for a swim. Coming up, a look at a family's discovery in a nearby pond. And hopefully you're avoiding the expected triple-digit heat by staying inside, maybe watching the 208. So send us a text, 208-321-5614, and we'll share what you're thinking at the end of the show. In Idaho's great outdoors, you can expect to run into a variety of creatures. There's bighorn sheep, wild horses, cougars, hopefully you're not running into that, bears, also hopefully you're not running into that, and bald eagles. As for those dwelling in the water, it's mostly limited to fish, salmon, trout, maybe on the freakier side, sturgeon. Jumping into Idaho's exclusively fresh bodies of water, you would not expect to find an animal that's known for its ocean dwellings. But about a week ago, a man and his kids discovered just that. There are plenty of things you expect to find during a summer day at the pond. Birds, ducks, and dogs. Maybe even
fish and like other things.
But not this.
At first I thought it was maybe a feather or something kind of mucusy looking, so I was going to move the girls out of the way, and then I saw that it was moving up and down.
Floating through the pond at Freedom Park in Star, there was a creature the Brandis family,
You couldn't really see it because they were like clear.
only expected to find in an ocean, not in Idaho.
And I told the girls, grab a bucket, and sure enough, I was like, I think this is a jellyfish, and we scooped it up and put it in her little sand bucket, and it was jellyfish. And then we started seeing more and more and more.
One jellyfish became two.
Once we saw some, we would swim out and grab them and then swim back in and then put them in the bucket.
Then 5 became 10.
And then it just became a game. We started trying to catch as many as we could and put them in the bucket, and I think we had about 15 or 16 by the time we were done.
Each one was clear.
They're kind of squishy, but they're also slimy.
About the size of a small coin.
They feel weird, and I don't like it.
And for a moment, the girls had one very reasonable question.
We were kind of scared because we thought that they were going to sting us.
I reached out to Idaho Fish and Game. I said, do you guys know anything about this? You know, why they're here, how they got here, are they harmless? Is it okay for us to be swimming in the water?
The good news? They may look like they're saltwater cousins, but they cannot deliver the same painful surprise.
They said their stingers are too small to sting you.
Yep. They said their stingers, their tentacles are too small that the stingers can't penetrate human skin.
Yeah.
So I guess they're essentially harmless.
They're really tiny.
Idaho Fish and Game says freshwater jellyfish are rare, but they're not new to Idaho. They've been here for about 30 years. Nobody knows for certain how they move from one body of water to another, but their tiny bodies can have hundreds of tentacles, mostly used to catch very small organisms like plankton.
It was interesting because I've never seen jellyfish in a freshwater lake before.
unexpected, and hard to explain to your friends once summer vacation is over. Are you excited to go back to school and tell all your friends that you saw jellyfish this summer?
Yeah.
Are they gonna believe you?
Probably not.
Fortunately, they have photos to prove it.
Or they're still sleeping.
And they're already excited to find more. And like I mentioned, these creatures are not new to Idaho. More than 20 years ago, a family had a similar experience. That time, it was in the water at Eagle Island State Park. A researcher breaks down how they could multiply in this 208 redial.
With 100-degree heat outside, kids find it hard to resist the cool waters at Eagle Island State Park. That's where Cindy Cole says her daughter went for a swim Thursday night and scooped up a bit more than she bargained for. 2 light-colored moving organisms.
I sure thought it looked like a jellyfish.
Hard to believe for people playing at the park.
Freshwater jellyfish in here?
But water researchers say it's entirely possible.
Well, we've only found them one other time in Idaho, and that was several years ago during another heat wave. And they seem to spawn and develop into a medusa where they can swim free to breed. And then they can live as a hydra for years before they ever turn into a jellyfish.
Fearing these jellyfish could pack a wallop just like their relatives, the Portuguese man of war, Cole wanted answers.
I was kind of concerned only because she said there were a lot of them. I know one sting couldn't hurt anybody, but what happens if you get a lot of them and they're massive?
Finding a large amount of them would be pretty rare. They're very uncommon even when you find them. But there's no danger, they're just interesting.
In fact, Headley says there could be more freshwater jellyfish floating around in other places, but because they're so clear, nobody ever notices. Casey Hawkins and her kids didn't spot any, so she'll keep coming back to Eagle Island, whatever it takes to stay cool.
Not too worried. We're okay.
Elizabeth Holman, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Well, today, Fish and Game told us biologists rarely see freshwater jellyfish, and if they do see them, it's in calm, still waters of lakes, ponds, or even reservoirs with little flow. Fish and Game says they are one of a few exotic species that appear not to be harmful to native species or fish. But as a reminder, it is illegal to introduce species to Idaho's waterways. And if you see any suspicious activity while at the water or in the wild, be sure to call Fish and Game.
our weather pattern playing on a repeat today, almost an identical setup to 24 hours ago. Hot and smoky in Boise. We're at 96 degrees, so not as hot as yesterday. We were in the triple digits at this point yesterday, but still, it's a hot and hazy afternoon. 91 in Twin Falls, 80 with some smoke over Payette Lake. It looks like right now in McCall and Sun Valley, some clouds as well, as we have some storms firing off north of Sun Valley and south of Twin Falls right now. But back to air quality, we've been hovering in the red and orange categories in Boise today. As we look ahead to tomorrow, I expect kind of an identical setup as far as the smoke goes. We'll likely hover in that orange or unhealthy for sensitive folks group for the day tomorrow. But we also will see a little bit of a change in the weather pattern. One, temperatures back off a little bit. We'll have clouds overhead for much of the day. So another day on Wednesday that will look a bit gray, especially in the morning when smoke is at its most dense at the surface. We'll likely see the sun emerging in the afternoon, but we'll have enough moisture coming in from the south, and that will combine with a piece of atmospheric energy later in the day that we have some flash flood concerns over the central and Boise mountains, in particular for tomorrow afternoon and evening, that Wapiti burn scar near Highway 21. So that's the green blob you see here. That's a flash flood watch for Wednesday. We continue an air quality alert at least through tomorrow afternoon, as well as we expect the smoke to persist through tomorrow, possibly beyond, as we still have some very large fires burning in eastern Oregon. Looking at our satellite and radar picture right now, you can see storms firing off around the Treasure Valley, but nothing in the Treasure Valley. If you're in Twin Falls and other areas of the Magic Valley looking south, you likely see these storm clouds brewing. Looks like these storms are losing their intensity as they roll northward, but still some gusty outflow winds could make their way into the Twin Falls area tonight. And as we look at future casts, this is about maybe 10 to 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. As early as that, we could have some light rain moving over the Magic Valley, potentially some storms over the Owyhees as well. There's that cloud cover for the Boise area. Storm chances in the Treasure Valley tomorrow are slim. Not zero, but about 20% coverage if we see any storms at all. Bigger area of concern is over the Central Mountains. Now, this particular model at this moment puts the heaviest rain north and east of the Stanley area, but I am anticipating that if we get these storms that do develop over the Stanley region and points to the east, they will be slow moving enough that we could see some periods of heavy rain in a short amount of time. That's what has some flash flood concerns in play tomorrow. So if you're in this area now or you plan to head to the hills tomorrow, just be ready for the possibility of some debris flows and flash flooding. Be very weather aware. Have multiple ways to get weather alerts on your phone. Outside of the storms, it'll be another hot and hazy day tomorrow. Look at our lows in the morning. Another day where we won't dip out of the 70s. We'll warm to the mid to upper 90s in the Treasure Valley, a little cooler in the Magic Valley, but then we're right back to the triple digits after that for the rest of the week. In fact, we'll see triple digits from Thursday through Saturday. All right, quick check of those traffic conditions for you. We are seeing things improving a bit on westbound I-84. Westbound lanes in this view are coming toward us. This is around 10 Mile heading out towards Garrity. It looks like things have picked up a bit. Current traffic flow, though, shows further east of that as you get out of the Flying Y, closer to Meridian on westbound I-84. Things are a bit slower. This is a pretty typical setup. Not seeing anything significant yet to slow you down, but still almost a 40-minute commute from Boise to Caldwell right now.
And we have a quick update on the 208 Way. So far, you have raised nearly $6,550 for Honor Flight Boise. We're just a few months out from the upcoming trip, and they need to raise about $20,000 more. Honor Flight Boise will use that money to send veterans to Washington, D.C., where they will get to go through those monuments dedicated in their honor. The trip is this October. If you want to help out, be sure to scan the QR code on your screen. You'll get a link to where you can donate to the 208 Way. All right, take a look at some of your comments. We have Beckett from Twin Falls who says it would be nice to see in the housing issue first-time home buyers willing to take a chance on fixer-uppers, getting an easier approval or purchase or for purchase and assistance with fixing and financing. With interest rates high, that would be really nice. I like that. All right, Barb in Boise says, shooting in eagle complaints sound like buying next to a pig farm, then complaining about the smell. Be responsible with your aim regardless. Barb in Boise. And lastly, Carl, I took some of my scuba certification at Quinn's Pond. There were jellyfish there. Yeah, you're right. You're right.